So what we do is we're a Victorian Government agency. We promote road safety, which is a lot of what you see on those all those campaigns that you've seen. We also improve the state's trauma system. That's a big part of what we do. And we support people who've been injured in traffic or transport accidents on our roads. And we are funded through payments made by drivers who put their registration in, and they have to pay a large proportion to us. So thank you very much for all of you who have licences. I appreciate that. So unlike other government departments and agencies, we don't have to go cap in hand to the Department of Treasury and you know, put our case forward. We are actually self-funded. So our vision is a future where every journey is a safe one. Now let me tell you a little bit about our journey as a business. So our story begins in 1986 when the Transport Accident Act came to be, and an organisation was born. And I don't know if you remember, a lot of you are too young. A lot of you pretend that you're younger than you are, if you're like me. And before us was the Motor Accident Board, and there was a lot of huge payouts that were made to people through the common law system, and so the system just wasn't viable. Okay, at that time, a record-keeping system was in place. And it included an RDA. And staff understood their record-keeping obligations. Can you believe it? Procedures of how to do all sorts of things included the record-keeping component. Everything was under control. Let's take a moment to just enjoy the feel. It was all good, I'm led to believe. So anyway, fast forward 20 years or so, and things have changed a little bit. And the TAC is an innovative business. And we've adapted to research, we've adapted to technology, we have changed the way we work. We have, the TAC does some amazing things for basically an insurer. For example, there are some catastrophically injured road users who are so injured that they can either stay at home or go into a nursing home. Well, that's unacceptable. These can be young people. And so we have actually, the TAC has actually created some accommodations specifically for people in that circumstance. So the whole residence is completely electronic, can be run by a person from the wheelchair with very, very limited mobility, and they can get access to a carer on the spot. The TAC also has utilised their, as you would know, over the years, we've had lots and lots of strategies about drinking and driving and being on drugs and being distracted and all sorts of things. And there are other countries that have no budget for that kind of thing, but have a real need to be helped to change the culture and to change people's behaviour. So through the United Nations, the TAC's material has been used in other countries like Brazil, like Russia, like China. So there's a lot of really good things happening. There's some good things happening to improve our roads, which are part of the research and part of the reaction of people in the TAC. So they do good stuff. Honestly, we do some things really good. As part of this, we have adapted to research, we have adapted to emerging technology, and we have restructured. And we've restructured, and we've restructured, and we've restructured until we accidentally restructured all the records knowledge out the door. And I mean that sincerely. What happened was, back in the day when it was all under control, there was a program that everybody used. If you took a file out of that compactus, then you went into the program and you said, I've taken it from that compactus and it's with me. And people could go in and say, oh, it's with Lyn, I'll go and get it from her. So that was, you know, that was good. But then, and we had a big team of people in our warehouse that looked after paper. So that everything was on paper, and so as the files were created and as they went off to people and as things came for filing, there was a big team of people who all understood what they needed to do. But then, when we went to scan some of our documents and more and more things happened online, we needed, or electronically, fewer and fewer people were needed in that record space, apparently. And so the team just shrank and shrank and shrank, and sort of went to kind of this, and nobody seemed to notice. And then we moved to Geelong to make sure that no fragment of leftover knowledge was there. In moving from Melbourne to Geelong, over a number of years, the number of people who had worked in Melbourne, I think, was around 30%. So it was like, if you want to get rid of people, just move somewhere and most of them will go. Oops. All right, so then, as far as our record keeping was concerned, how can I kind of describe? We were ignorant of our obligations, let's just say. So everybody did basically what they wanted to. So we didn't realise, especially after a few years, who knew we had obligations? Who knew that there was things to be complied with? Who knew that we as a government agency should be doing things in a certain way? Imagine that. Really stifling your creativity there. So we had a game that started, and the game was the records management project, but it seems more to me like snakes and ladders. That's the only thing that I could equate this game to. So, you know, the ups and the downs, of trying to get something in records in a place where there was absolutely no knowledge. I'm talking about no knowledge of record keeping. So it all began with an audit, as most things do. And I think most people in the building, when an audit happens, it's like, oh, here we go. Nobody likes audits. But in this game of snakes and ladders, it was definitely a good thing, because from the atrocious score, it basically looked like this, the result from the audit. The only ticks we got on it were for our off-site storage, because they did a really good job. And the rest of it was consistent. But it was very bad. So we got buy-in from our management. That was a good thing. They decided, because we had none, we remember, that we might create ourselves a records team. And we might have to get ourselves a plan. So these are all really good things. There was no knowledge at all in the building. So there was no records team. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so because we're so smart, because we had no knowledge, the first thing we did, which was not a good thing, was that we made unwise choices. And we changed the original plan that was written for us by a very good consultant. And why did we do that? Because we saw something shiny over there and looking good. And there was kind of a butterfly, and that was, really good. So, I don't know, we just got talked into things, because honestly, this is what happened. The CEO got the audit and went, whoa, we better do something about this, and said to one of her executive managers, you're it. And he turned around to my senior manager and said, you're it. And he turned around to me and said, we're it. And I thought, I don't get you, what do you mean? So we had, some very basic training. I had never heard of PROV. And I thought, it just sounds like an awful disease, don't you think? I just had no idea about anything, and I was it. So that's why we did this kind of stuff, because it wasn't just me. Obviously, I was right in there, because I'm right into shiny things and butterflies, but as an organisation, the people making the decisions had no understanding. So, but it was fun because, I keep telling people when we hire people to the TAC, it's a little bit like working for an artist. Absolutely fantastic at the art, but the tax records are in Hessian bags under the bed, that kind of thing. So as far as the administration side of things go, not so much. Anyway, so we had a good thing, and that was we did get a team, an enthusiastic team. So the team undertook study. They did Cert 4, I did a diploma. We did some other ad hoc record keeping study and information governance and all sorts of stuff, and went, ooh, that's fun. And then they attended conferences like this one, visited records managers and saw how things are supposed to be, and went, oh, that looks good, let's do that. And we thought, I'm starting to understand what this stuff is about, why we're not real good at it. And what we were supposed to be doing became a bit more accessible. And so the team was a bit excited about what they were doing. Although I began to get very nervous, because in the beginning I thought, this is like eating an elephant. But after a while I thought, this is like eating a planet. But anyway, we pushed on. So, as has been stated earlier, the team was very enthusiastic. But the rest of the staff didn't care about record keeping. And why should they? Because they were free to make up their own rules and do whatever they liked, and it was fun. And besides, they were too busy to learn yet another new thing. Because with all the restructure and adapting, there's a lot of change in the way people work. And, so why would I bother with the record keeping, especially since records are the domain of the records team, and they only thought records were those hard copy files that nobody uses anymore. So the records team is automatically redundant and old hat. So that was awesome. But one good thing was that they were frustrated by the results of their own bad record keeping. So as you can imagine, if you can't find your own stuff, because you make up the way you save it one day and then on the next week you've forgotten what that was. If you can't find your own stuff and you need to recreate it, that's annoying. It's even more annoying if you have to go to court and go, funny thing, Judge, you'll laugh at this, or a parliamentary committee. And so there were times when it was, dreadful. And so that irritation became a good thing for us. It became something that we could take hold of. So we, as a team, created some positive interest, and this is how we did it. First of all, we built bridges to the very, very few other teams in the business that care about records. So the freedom of information, the privacy, the policy area, the business improvement area, we made really good links into those teams and talked about what they were doing and what efforts they were putting in and what messages they were trying to get across to the business. Because as you can imagine, things were not good in the FOI privacy space, but it kept them busy. We visited teams to discuss their frustrations, because they had many, and talk about what is it that is going wrong for you and what is making your life really difficult. And we created a short video, which I'm about to show you. I'm not entirely sure how now.
Hello and welcome. It's great to have your company. We're here today to talk about an incredible records management system. It's called the Rough Enough is Good Enough system. Stan, you've used the Rough Enough is Good Enough system. What do you think?
And I love it. I'm sold. It's the simplest system I've ever had to use to sort documents and files. There's no training or user manuals required, and my staff absolutely love it.
Well, let's hear what your staff had to say. Fran, tell us what you think.
And the Rough Enough is Good Enough records management system has changed my life. What's the stress about deadlines? But now, I can't find a thing, so even if I wanted to, I can't get anything done by the deadlines. And you know what? I've said goodbye to deadlines, and work is so much easier, and I'm so much happier. It's fantastic.
Well, Stan, she certainly looks comfortable.
Yes, and our staff love the relaxed pace of the system.
Let's hear what Dan has to say.
And ever since I started using the Rough Enough is Good Enough system, I found myself becoming more imaginative. You see, at work, I like to invent names for documents. For example, today's my father's birthday, and I bought him some pigeons. So, I named a file today, Pigeons, for Dad. Using my creativity like this has allowed me to become more creative in other ways.
Well, Stan, that is amazing. I've never known an office worker to be so creative before. You must be thrilled with the results of this system.
Absolutely, Anne. I can't imagine a better way to manage our records and also encourage our staff to use their imagination.
That's amazing. Let's see what Jan has to say about this system.
Come on. I got slow that dragon. And I love the Rough Enough is Good Enough records management system. I think it's awesome. When I first got this job, I wasn't too sure if I was going to be able to do it, but my predecessor used the Rough Enough is Good Enough records management system, and I can't find a thing. I haven't got any idea what I'm supposed to be doing, but don't you worry, I am gaining some great skills. Level 90.
Well, Stan, you have to be happy with that.
I sure am, Anne. Level 90 takes quite a bit of skill.
Oh, I know it does. Shall we meet one more member of your staff?
Sure, let's cross to Montgomery now.
Oh my God, Stan, the Rough Enough is Good Enough system is the best. It's such a time saver. I don't even have to worry about how important documents are or what they might be needed for in the future. I just do what I think is best.
I guess it's unanimous. The Rough Enough is Good Enough records management system is the best on the market. As an incentive for our viewers today, we have a special deal for the first 30 callers. That's right. If you're one of our first 30 callers, you will receive absolutely free the Unexpected Legal Trouble Deterrent. Are you tired of auditors, debt collectors and process servers interrupting your day? If so, the Unexpected Legal Trouble Deterrent is perfect for you. Order the Rough Enough is Good Enough records management system for 50 payments of $59.95 plus $2,000 postage and handling, and we'll throw in the Unexpected Legal Trouble Deterrent for free. Call us now.
So you're not going to get any technical information out of me like you would with the previous speakers, just saying. Now how do I get that thing off there? Of any kind.
Oh yeah, we have to
I
go
just
back
need to get rid of that one. There we go. All right, so like I was saying, we tried to find ways to hook into the frustration that everybody was experiencing with their poor record keeping, and that was one of the ways that we came up with. I can't remember what on earth we're up to here, let's see. Okay, so we moved on with our plan. We did have a plan. We were trying to move forward, but we just kept coming up with these issues. So an RDA was actually created. We did get ourselves a BCS. We got some titling conventions. We got a little bit of understanding around the place. And we was then assigned, because it was such a big project, a project team. I don't know how project teams are in your place, but in our place, this team was no good to us because they had no knowledge of records and therefore, as you'd understand, no interest. They were isolated from the business unit, so they were off doing their project, and they had this big, burdensome project way of doing things. There was lots of reporting, there were lots of meetings, there was lots of Visio documents, Not a whole lot of forward motion that happened, but they were good at spending the budget, just saying. And so in the end, we decided that's probably not a good way to go, so we moved on from that wonderful thing. And then somehow, one of our managers pulled a rabbit out of the hat and we got budget. We were authorised to get an EDRMS. The funding was approved. I don't know why that later disappeared. The procurement took place quite quickly, which is very unusual. And we had ourselves a new system. Imagine that. And although we were excited about our new system, IT had their own priorities, and that wasn't one of them. So they had conflicting priorities. A new record-keeping system didn't make it to the top of their list. Not only is our IT department, looking after all the TACs stuff, we also there are shared service between WorkSafe and the TAC, so they had even more conflicting priorities than records, and so it was very hard to get them to do anything, let's just say, because they had other things that they were doing and other priorities, and I'm sure they were very busy, they just weren't very busy with us. So one of the things that we did in the last year, which has been really good, is to get ourselves some expertise in-house. So we have hired some experts with really good knowledge and understanding, and I have to keep placating them and helping them out because it's a bit of a shock to come to an organisation with our colourful history. So we have 2 specialists that have been added to our records team. So we no longer have to rely solely on consultants for the knowledge and expertise that we need. And let me just give you some of the lessons learned. Now, I have been, for obvious reasons, extremely diplomatic in what I have put on the screen today. However, I must tell you that this whole process has been extremely difficult. And if you're having, big issues at your place, give me a call. I'd be happy to catch up and talk about, how we got through the various roadblocks. But the lessons learned. It takes resilience to roll out our records management program of work. I visited Barwon Water at one stage when I was going around to different records managers and asking, about what they did and things. And the person that I spoke to there, Mick, he had rolled out a huge program of work over a number of years. And I said to him, would you do it again? And he went, oh, that was not a good sign, okay. And then he gave me the best bit of wisdom, probably the most accurate bit of advice that anyone's given me about this records management project. He said, you've got to have a bit of mongrel in you. And then he said, but you'll be all right. So, okay. So I think it is true. You do have to be able to just separate yourself from everybody's dramas and all the reasons why it can't work and just keep going. Good record keeping has benefits to users. So we need to stay the course. They can't see it now, always. They can't see it when they're going through that transition. They're so upset about the change and got every reason under the sun why they can't do it because they're way too busy doing real work. But if you stay the course and people start to see the value, you'll soon have champions who will be standing up and saying, singing the praises of the new way of working, which is not what you expect from the beginning, but oh my gosh, it actually happens, which is a bit of a shock. It's important to find ways to help each team achieve their stuff, to achieve their own goals through configuring the system and helping them improve their own processes and walk a bit of a journey with each team. Find out what they're trying to do, because you may be able to give them, or most likely will be able to give them, better, more efficient ways of working, but it is worth the investment of time to find out exactly what are you doing? And when they're really bad, as some of them are, it's probably best to send someone to the team who's good at poker, because having a person go, you what, is not helpful. Just saying. Okay. Ensuring the records team is capable of answering questions and supporting staff when the staff are really frustrated or confused is very important. Not just that they know the answer, but that they can speak to someone who's upset and cranky, because this is the pivotal point at which, if you can be the cavalry that comes and says, hey, I can help you, it's not so bad, and then they think, oh, yeah, rather than, listen, you just do, that's not good. So making sure that the team is capable of doing that, helping people through their stress is, I found, really important. Staff need to understand how the system will help them. Management need to understand how we're complying with legislation and mitigating risk. We must not get any of those confused, because staff don't care about compliance or risk. So training should not contain anything, I don't think, about compliance or risk. It should all be about how we can help you achieve your goals in a much, better way than you're doing now. Here's how we can help you. Here's what we can do for you, because they just will not hear anything else. So there you go. So it was a bit like True Confessions, but that's the story so far at the TAC. Thank you.